I thought it was an innocent joke about a look-alike kid, but it exposed secrets that changed everything. Let me tell you about how a seemingly innocent joke at a swimming pool completely shattered my social circle and revealed 15 years of hidden emotions I never knew existed. I'm David, a 39-year-old father of the most energetic 5-year-old boy you'll ever meet, Lucas. My wife Sarah and I had been trying for years to have another child, but it wasn't in the cards for us. That's why we've always been extra conscious about Lucas being an only child. We didn't want him to miss out on those crucial social skills that come from having siblings. I developed this strategy that worked like magic. Whenever we go to public places, parks, pools, playgrounds, you name it, I always bring extra toys. Not just one or two, but enough for a small army of kids. It's my secret weapon for helping Lucas make friends. I'll pack multiple water guns, RC cars, beach toys, bubbles, anything that might catch another child's interest. The parents in our neighborhood absolutely love it. They often tell me how refreshing it is to see someone actively encouraging kids to share and play together instead of being overprotective of their toys. The day everything started was a bright Sunday morning in July. The kind of summer day that practically begs you to head to the pool. I was loading up my signature big bag of pool toys, super soakers, diving rings, those torpedo things that whistle underwater, when my phone buzzed. It was Olivia, my old college roommate, asking what I was up to. Now, let me tell you about Olivia. We go way back to the days of instant noodles and cramming for finals. She was always the life of the party back then, but these days, we mostly see each other in group settings. She's married with kids now, just like most of our friend circle. She's also notorious for being perpetually late to everything, a detail that becomes oddly important later in this story. I thought nothing of inviting her to join us at the pool. We're heading there early to grab a good spot. I texted her, "Come whenever you're ready." That was classic Olivia. She'd show up eventually, probably an hour or two late, but that was just her style. Sure enough, Sarah, Lucas, and I snagged prime real estate by the shallow end. Perfect spot with just enough shade and sun. Close to the bathrooms, but not so close you'd get all the foot traffic. Lucas and I started our usual game. Me playing the evil villain, trying to take over the world, only to be thwarted by mighty water gun warriors. I had my villain laugh down pat, which always made the kids giggle. That's when things got interesting. Another kid from Lucas's kindergarten class spotted us and came running over, a boy named Tommy. Now, this is where it gets weird. Tommy happened to look remarkably similar to me. Same dark hair, same nose, even the same goofy grin. His mom, Jennifer, was there too. She and Sarah hit it off immediately, as they often did during school pickup. They decided to go for a swim while I watched the kids. "You sure you're okay managing both of them?" Jennifer asked. I remember laughing and saying, "Please, I came prepared. I'm practically running a water park over here. No big deal, right?" Oh, how wrong I was. Looking back now, that moment was like the first domino in a series that would eventually topple my entire social life. But there I was, blissfully unaware, playing pool games with the kids and occasionally shouting, "Oh no, my evil plans are ruined again." Little did I know that this perfect summer day was about to set in motion events that would expose 15 years of secrets, lies, and unrequited feelings. When Olivia finally arrived with her kids, it was almost noon, typical Olivia timing. She was wearing this fancy designer swimsuit that seemed a bit out of place for a casual pool day with kids, but that was her style. She seemed particularly thrilled to see me, which I didn't think much of at the time. Looking back now, all the signs were there, but I was completely blind to them. I started handing out more pool toys to her children, making sure everyone was having a good time. The whole scene was picture perfect. Kids laughing, water splashing, parents relaxing. Then came the moment that would later explode in my face like a badly thrown water balloon. Tommy ran up asking for another toy, and Olivia's reaction changed everything. "Oh my God, he's so adorable," she exclaimed, looking at Tommy with this weird intensity. "He looks just like you, David. The same eyes, the same smile. It's uncanny." There was something in her voice, a hint of something I couldn't quite place at the time. Was it accusation? Jealousy? I had no idea. I laughed it off with what I thought was a clever response. "Thanks, but that's not my kid." We all thought it was hilarious. Me, Sarah, and Jennifer had a good chuckle about it when they returned from their swim. Jennifer even joked about demanding a DNA test, and we all laughed harder. Just a funny coincidence, right? The kind of thing you tell at parties for a quick laugh. Wrong. So very, very wrong. The day continued without incident, but looking back, I noticed Olivia was acting strange. She kept watching me interact with Tommy, and her smile seemed forced. She left earlier than usual, claiming her kids were tired, but they were still begging to play. Again, I missed all these red flags, too busy enjoying what I thought was just another perfect summer day. Fast forward a few months to a friend's gathering at Mike and Lisa's place. It was one of those casual weekend things where everyone brings food, kids run wild, and adults try to have conversations between breaking up toddler fights. I was making trips to the car, juggling kids' stuff and leftover containers. You know how it is with kids, you basically pack for a small expedition every time you leave the house. That's when I spotted Olivia's husband, Mark, by the front door. Mark had always been kind of distant with me, which I'd attributed to him just being a quiet guy. Boy, was I wrong about that too. Thinking I'd make a clever callback to the pool day, I called out, "Hey Mark, can you get my wife and kid? Just make sure it's actually my kid and not some random look-alike." The silence that followed was deafening. You know that moment in movies where everything goes quiet and time seems to slow down? It was exactly like that. Mark's face turned stone cold, all color draining away. Olivia, who was standing nearby, looked like she'd seen a ghost. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I stood there, arms full of Tupperware and pool toys, completely confused about what was happening. Mark's jaw was clenched, his hands balled into fists. Olivia was frozen in place, eyes darting between me and Mark like she was watching a tennis match from hell. I tried to salvage the situation with an awkward laugh. You know, because of that funny moment at the pool, when Olivia thought Tommy was my kid. Somehow, this made everything worse. Mark turned and walked away without a word, leaving Olivia behind. She looked at me with what I now realized was a mix of anger and fear before hurrying after him. I awkwardly said goodbye to our hosts and left, completely bewildered by what had just transpired. On the drive home, I kept replaying the scene in my head, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. It was just a joke, right? A callback to a funny moment we'd all laughed about. How could something so innocent go so terribly wrong? After that disastrous evening at Mike and Lisa's, I spent days trying to figure out what went wrong. I texted Olivia multiple times. "Hey, is everything okay? Did I say something wrong? Can we talk about what happened?" Radio silence. Complete and utter radio silence. I even tried reaching out to Mark through our mutual friends, but he wouldn't acknowledge my existence. Then came the engagement party incident. This is where everything really went off the rails. Our friends Jack and Emma were celebrating their engagement at this fancy restaurant downtown. I wasn't supposed to be there. I'd initially RSVP'd no because Sarah and I couldn't find a sitter for Lucas. But at the last minute, Sarah insisted I go, saying she'd stay home with our son. "You need to sort this out," she said. "Something's not right with this whole situation." I walked into that restaurant feeling optimistic. Maybe I could finally clear the air with Olivia and Mark. Maybe we could all laugh about this misunderstanding over champagne and appetizers. Oh, how naive I was. The moment Olivia saw me, all hell broke loose. She was already a few glasses of wine in, and her face turned red with anger. "What is he doing here?" she practically screamed. "You weren't supposed to be here." The entire restaurant went quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Before I could even respond, she stormed over to me, tears streaming down her face. "You ruined my marriage," she shouted. "Are you happy now? Was this your plan all along?" I stood there, completely stunned, as she proceeded to tear into me in front of everyone. Apparently, there was this whole backstory I knew nothing about. Something about a similar situation in Mark's family where someone's comment about a child's appearance had revealed an affair. Mark's cousin's wife had been cheating, and it all came out because someone made an innocent comment about the kid looking like the wrong parent. Mark had thought Olivia had told me that story, that I was deliberately mocking their family drama with my pool joke and callback comment. The truth was I had no idea about any of this. How could I? Nobody had ever told me. The engagement party turned into complete chaos. Jack and Emma were furious. Their special night was ruined. Mutual friends started taking sides. Some defended me, saying I couldn't have known. Others accused me of being insensitive at best, malicious at worst. I heard whispers about how I must have known, how nobody could be that oblivious. Sarah's best friend called her, telling her to keep an eye on me. Someone else suggested I had a history of making inappropriate jokes. The stories people were suddenly telling about me bore no resemblance to reality, but they spread like wildfire. Social media became a battlefield. I was unfriended and blocked by people I'd known for years. Some mutual friends stopped returning my calls. Others sent me lengthy messages about how disappointed they were in me. Even people who weren't at the party were suddenly taking sides in a drama they knew nothing about. The engaged couple, Jack and Emma, were beyond furious. What should have been a joyous celebration of their love had turned into an episode of a bad reality TV show. Emma later told mutual friends that she would never forgive me for ruining her engagement party, even though I'd tried to leave as soon as things got heated. I went home that night feeling like I'd stepped into an alternate reality. How had an innocent joke about a kid at a pool turned into this nuclear explosion of drama? Sarah helped me while I tried to process what had happened. "There's more to this story," she said. "People don't react like this over nothing." She was right, of course. There was so much more to this story, but I wouldn't find out the truth until the next morning. And trust me, the truth was more bizarre than anything I could have imagined. After the engagement party disaster, I spent a sleepless night drafting one final message to Olivia. It was long, thoughtful, and sincere, acknowledging her pain while expressing my complete confusion about what was happening. "I understand if you never want to speak to me again," I wrote, "but if you ever want to talk about what's really going on, I'm here to listen." I showed the message to Sarah before sending it. She gave me that look, the one wives give when they think you're being naive but love you for it anyway. "You really want to open this can of worms?" she asked. I did. I had to know. What I didn't expect was Olivia showing up at my house at 7 a.m. the next morning, unannounced. Sarah took one look at her standing on our doorstep and said, "I'll take Lucas to my sister's. You two need to talk." My wife's intuition was spot on, as usual. What followed was the most surreal conversation of my life. For 15 years, Olivia had been playing some bizarre, emotional chess game that I hadn't even known I was part of. She broke down crying as she revealed that she'd had feelings for me back in college. All those times she'd been there for me, when my dad died, when I was struggling with being single, weren't just friendship. She'd been trying to nice girl her way into a relationship with me. "But you got married," I said, confused. "You met Mark. You seemed happy." That's when the truth really started pouring out. She'd married Mark on the rebound, hoping her feelings for me would fade. They didn't. Mark had always known about her feelings, which explained his coldness toward me. We hadn't naturally drifted apart as I'd thought. Mark had explicitly asked her to limit contact with me to large group settings. That day at the pool, she'd deliberately shown up when Mark was away, wearing that fancy swimsuit on purpose. She'd been trying to make him jealous because she suspected he was cheating on her. The comment about Tommy looking like me wasn't innocent. It was calculated to create drama. The engagement party scene wasn't spontaneous either. She'd verified with Jack and Emma that I wasn't coming, then planned to use my unexpected appearance to her advantage. She'd been telling people that we'd had an affair, that I was stalking her, that Mark had left her because he'd discovered our relationship. None of it was true. We hadn't even had a private conversation in years. As she talked, 15 years of interactions suddenly appeared in a new light. Every group gathering, every casual conversation, every social media interaction had been part of her elaborate fantasy. She'd been living in a completely different reality, one where we had this deep, unspoken connection that simply didn't exist. The worst part? I don't even know how much of what she told me that morning was true. Was she really being honest for the first time? Or was this just another move in her game? Did Mark really cheat? Or was that part of her justification? The truth had become so twisted that I'm not sure anyone knows what really happened anymore. My wife Sarah has been incredibly supportive through all of this. She knows there was never any affair or stalking. She finds the whole thing darkly amusing in a way. "Only you," she says, "could accidentally trigger this much drama by being nice to kids at a pool. Most of our real friends have figured out the truth too, or at least enough of it to know I'm not the villain in this story. But some relationships are permanently damaged. The engaged couple still isn't speaking to me. Some mutual friends have chosen sides based on versions of events that never happened. As for Olivia and Mark, last I heard, they're in marriage counseling. Part of me hopes they work things out, but a bigger part of me just wants to stay as far away from their drama as possible. Some friendships aren't worth saving, especially when you realize they were built on lies from the start. The whole experience has taught me a valuable lesson about how little we sometimes know the people we consider friends. It's also made me incredibly grateful for my wife, my son, and the genuine relationships in my life. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.